Welcome into the Dad Verb podcast. Topics around parenting from the lens of a dad.
This episode got a good comment coming in from our Discord about milestones. You know, are we overthinking milestones? We're gonna open up that conversation here. Saunders, our trusted mod, our elite king of our Discord.
King of Discord. I'm gonna make that my title.
Discord kid. You should just change your handle to that, man. Can you lead us off from the comment that kind of dropped in, and then we'll kind of expound on the topic.
Yeah, so we keep going over similar concepts in the Discord because, again, we keep getting new dads, right? Yeah. Every day there's somebody else. And so a recent dad, Matthew, said, hey, when did your baby start having their first words? We have our first baby and we're trying to gauge where we are and what to expect. And he obviously didn't have a good resource for what milestones your kid should be at, right? And I immediately just said, hey, go check out the Milestones app by the CDC. It's a great resource, and it's what your pediatrician is going to ask you when you go to those appointments. So hit it up and see where. And he, like, the next day, he was like, oh my God, thank you, right? Like, okay, I know if my kid's ahead or behind. And what I like about the app is it gives you is your kid missing a milestone? Here's a thing you can do to get them closer to that milestone, right? And they're averages. They're not like it's complicated conversation. But the reality is
we'll try to talk about it.
Isn't kicking a ball because the CDC app says your kid should kick a ball. Don't worry, it's fine. Right. Okay. If they're walking and running, they will get kicking shortly. Don't worry. Anyway.
Yeah. So I think that's the kind of bigger conversation that I want to get into, because it's really natural for a lot of parents to kind of low-key pit their kid up against other kids and then set like this baseline of, and there's a bit of competitiveness. In fact, there's a whole Bluey episode dedicated
to my God.
I mean,
I think we can put a Bluey season together on milestones and competition.
If you haven't seen it, go check out the episode. I forgot what it's called, but it's about Bluey's mom.
Baby race.
Baby race. Exactly. About crawling and the bum shuffle. It's great. Like it's not a secret that this is something that we all do. But let's talk about the milestones, okay? And do they actually matter? So
it's season 2, episode 50, in case you're interested.
Thank you, Ben. All right. Yes, season 2.
I'm not going to call you out, but I love the fact that every time we bring up the Discord, Ben's like, oh yeah, I forgot that exists. And he jumps on and he comments on stuff. And then we don't hear from him for months. Like Andrew's just given up.
I've got a busy life.
I was going to say, like, I'm worse than that.
Doesn't show up on social media, but at least Ben never is like, oh yeah, that's a thing.
Isn't it sad that I don't show up on social media
4 or 5 comments in a row, and it's absolutely amazing.
Open while we're recording.
Oh man.
Anyway, you get me once a month.
You're learning how the sausage is made here, guys. I'm just saying.
So, okay, just some key milestones from the CDC, just to kind of give you just a quick overview. And I'm not going to go into every single detail, but just like up through the first year or so, by 2 months, they begin to smile at people, can briefly calm themselves. And again, this is from the CDC. Okay, guys. They can coo, make gurgling sounds, turns their head turns towards sounds, right? Generally speaking. Okay. By month 4, they are they're babbling with expression. They can copy sounds. They can really hone in on faces and watch them closely and respond to affection. And this is around the time that a lot of people will start to kind of do sleep training, quote unquote. They can hold their head steady and push down on legs. When their feet are on a hard surface, they may roll over from tummy to back. So, that rolling aspect of things, that's why people will stop swaddling around this time. By month 6, they know familiar faces. They enjoy looking at themselves in the mirror, respond to sounds by making sounds. They can respond to their own name. Okay. I'll just pause right there because that's up through 6 months. That's up through 6 months, and there's a bunch of other things, and it's kind of pointless. But the bigger thing that I kind of want to hone in on, and you guys share your thoughts on this too, is that these are guidelines, just rough, just general guidelines, that there are so many nuanced things that aren't accounted for. But a lot of people take these things as doctrine, and if their babies aren't exhibiting the exact things that they're seeing, it's like something is wrong, and now we need to find like development, and we need to take corrective action right now. Like, don't do that. Obviously, you want to like consult your pediatrician and all that for if there's anything that's like kind of jumping out at you, but for the most part, like and this isn't medical advice, but for the most part, everything is fine. Is gonna be fine.
But
Go ahead.
the milestones are just like measuring your kid's skull. All right. Sometimes your kid's going to be a 5%er. Sometimes your kid's going to be a 95%er. You really don't have to worry unless you fall into those extreme margins where your kid's head is half their body size and they're at like 120%, right? Like, just be aware that they're suggestions. And frankly, it's a really fun game if you think of it that way, to be like, okay, what's the next set of milestones? What can I actually like get my kid to do like 3 months early, so I can just check that one off and be like, CDC, I beat you, right? And that's how I enjoy it. Like, I'll go through and be like, these are challenges. These are what do you call it? Quests, like, right? Like video game quests. Like, I'm going to check all these off and I'm going to get my achievement. And we're going to hit the 9-month mark at 8 months.
You know,
right?
You know what messed with me? We had these we had these like Love Every boxes, like these kind of like little kits and they're like age appropriate, right? So like in theory, they should be able to perform all the things in there. So we get like this 12-month box or whatever, and our kids are just like, they're not putting the square in on the right pegs. It says that this is age appropriate. They should be able to do this right now. They're stupid. So they're just not doing it. So and the thing is, there are a lot of parents where that's actually one of the biggest like negative reviews of Love Every, where that's like, they said it's appropriate for a 9-month-old, and are my kids not doing it? Is my kid behind? They can't. It's like, no, the whole point of them is to like, this is generally what they
grow with your
be
kid.
able to perform, and they'll like practice and they'll figure it out, maybe a little bit later, maybe a little bit sooner. But like, after having 3 kids, one with, who is like very advanced, especially with speech, and our middle, who just like did not talk. He didn't talk. And it's like, are we going to have to do speech therapy? Is this a concern? Is this really bad? And then our third being super advanced, like seeing all of them now, it's just like, it all just kind of works itself out, and they're fine.
What you're articulating is peer pressure in education, right? I mean, if you have kids learning to read, you notice this, because the first one reads at the rate mom and dad read at. The second one reads at the rate their sibling reads at. And the third one reads at the rate the other 2 siblings read at, because they're trying to catch up, right? And so like in larger families, my buddy had a 3-year-old that was reading, like, she was like, I'm done with picture books. And she started like Bernstein Bearsing it, right? Like the full paragraphs at 3. Why? Because her sister was in kindergarten and starting to read, and she wanted to read. So she figured it out, right? And it was like, well, that's off the charts. She couldn't kick a soccer ball to save her life, but she could read a book, right? And
that's
like, it's
my middle side child,
right?
Literally,
and that's
brilliant though.
There's a peer pressure there that we don't understand as adults because it was so long ago for us.
There's a social media pressure too. I don't know if you've that, like, I remember even seeing early on, like, see like a couple influencers and their kids are just they're not picky eaters, and they're eating great with utensils. Our kids are still like fisting rice into their mouth, and they're gagging at mashed potatoes. Like, wait, hold on. How come they're doing well, but our kids are not? And there's a big impact on social media, and in addition to meeting all the milestones, and just sets these unrealistic
that's
expectations.
me killing the food channel right there. Like, look at my kid eating with
on
a fork.
Discord. Yeah, you're the one setting unrealistic expectations.
What do you mean your kid won't eat Indian food at 4 weeks old? Come on.
Chicken biryani? No.
Yeah.
No,
put that masala down their throat.
I don't know. Ben, where are you at with this topic?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, unless there's a developmental issue, everything works itself out in time. There's really, you have no control over it. And I think that's the hardest thing for parents to realize, is there's so much about your kids that you cannot control. You can't control how fast they develop. You can encourage it. You can help support it, based on where they are developmentally, but you cannot control it. And you can't make it go any faster than it's meant to go. You can't make it go any slower than it's meant to go. It's just going to be, and that's it. Looking between our two kids, right? So there's 2.5 years difference between our children. Our son, originally very advanced in speech. We started reading to him basically from the day he was born. We were reading him books every night. Very advanced with his speech, very advanced in terms of social skills, very advanced in terms of picking up like science concepts. He explained trajectories to me the other day because he was watching a show that explained trajectories. And he was like, Dad, look at the trajectory of my throw. And I was like, hang on, say that again and explain to me. Like, you said a word, but explain what it means. Like, what do you think that means? He was like, oh, well, if I throw it higher, the trajectory is higher. If I throw it lower, the trajectory is. I was like, I mean, yeah, okay. You explained the concept. Good job. He's 4.
Yeah.
So he picks stuff up like that really quickly. What I'm noticing with our daughter, because she has him as an example, is her physical abilities are much more advanced than his were at that same age, because she has less fear because she sees him do the same things. Like we were talking pre-show, like we just got back from Disney World. At the pool, they had a massive water slide, right? It was like 2 stories, climb a bunch of stairs. It's like 30, 40 feet long, big twisty water slide. She sees her brother go down it and she just starts going slide, slide, slide. She's 18 months old. Slide, slide. I'm like, baby, I think that slide's too big for you. Slide, slide. Okay. And off she goes. And we bring her up to the top. And I was like, okay, we had us down at the bottom, and over all day long. She went up and down that slide all day.
Yeah.
But with her, climbing, her speech is coming in now more. We think she had some auditory issues because she ended up having to get tubes. She had like constant ear infections. And the doctor literally said, like, she's probably not going to sleep very well, and she's probably going to start speaking more. But once she gets all the gunk cleared out, because her world's basically been muffled for the last, 12 months or so. And that really was a big game changer for us. So like her speech has picked up, her physical abilities picked up, and then her ability to, communicate with everybody has really shot kind of through the roof.
I am it's funny that you mentioned that, because I've really noticed our daughter have a very similar trajectory where she is so much more advanced. But I think girls in general tend to advance a little bit faster and mature a little bit faster than boys in general. But when they have older siblings, especially boys, and it's you've got a similar situation, right? Like they are pushing themselves because their environment is around just more elevated physical activity. They're going down slides, they're tackling, they're throwing balls, and everything that our daughter sees her older brothers doing, she wants to do. And it's really like pushed her to develop a little bit faster compared to some of the others. And we have neighbors who they were born within a couple of weeks of Sienna, and they're at a very different developmental stage. Sienna is way different than them, but I think it's the environment.
We didn't notice that until we were just at a family event this weekend, and there are 3 babies who were all born within 3 months of each other. Yeah. So our daughter being the oldest, the next one is only 3 weeks away from her, and then the other one's only about 2.5 to 3 months away from her. And seeing it, but okay, so the difference is they're all first children. So all the babies that are about her age are their first kids. They're about to have their seconds. And so seeing the difference in development between a second child of the same age and a first child of the same age, it reminded me of where our son was at the time, because he was probably about that. I mean, very much kind of babyish, a lot less, speech, sort of more awkward physical movement, just sort of less graceful, I guess is the best way I could put it. As graceful as a toddler can be.
Yeah.
but it's really interesting to watch, to actually see those kids side by side, knowing that they're within a few weeks to a few months of each other, and seeing how drastically different they carry themselves, how they communicate, how they interact with others.
Right.
And again, just being the difference also between first and second children.
Right. And as parents, you see that, and maybe you're in that situation, you're seeing your son or daughter a little bit behind compared to some of those others. It doesn't mean that you should intervene and that you should seek out medical. No, everything will be fine for the most part. Okay, don't worry just yet.
I like
it's
the
kind of the
caveat,
moral
for the most part.
For the most, I'm not going to just say like ignore.
I mean,
but I it's very easy to get caught up in in the comparison game. As we know, comparison is the thief of joy, and you start like, how come they're not doing this? Everything will be fine. Don't get caught up in that. Is kind of the moral of this episode.
Right. And I think a lot of what we're trying to get at is the milestones are things your kids are going to achieve, right? What your job as a parent to do is teach them how to become better human beings. And a great example of this is my 2-year-old was at a family event, and there's kids from, I guess my 18-month-old is the youngest and my 2-year-old's the second youngest. But then there's another one 6 months, and like they go all the way up to 28, right? And there was a joke because my wife goes, "No, I'm not raising a little heathen," and my 2-year-old goes, "Napkin, please," like on cue. And one of my cousins was like, "That's not going to happen in this house," right? And the difference is, my cousins have not focused on social skills and social interactions as corrective parenting things they're doing as much as we have, right? And the development stuff doesn't matter, but my 2-year-old already knows that when she asks for something, she needs to say please, and she puts it in her sentences, right? Their kids are just on the I want to demanding phase, right? And they're both talking, they're both developmentally fine, but there is a piece that you as a parent have the ability to affect from a very young age. And it's as Michelangelo would put it, you have to chip away Michael from the rock of marble. He was always there. It's just how good a chisel are you using, right? And so
it's damn profound, man.
how fine you have to do the fine tuning as the parent, right? They'll figure out how to walk, how to talk, how to ask for things.
It's the saying, you're a gardener and not a carpenter when you're raising children. Like you're the whole thing is, no matter whatever they're meant to be, they will be. It's your job to nurture that, not to create something that you believe should be there. That's just, it is what it is, right? Like they're going to be who they're going to be. It's your job to nurture that and to support it and to love them for who they are, no matter what the milestones are. Now, again, if, as Andrew said, if you run into something developmentally where they need some extra help, I mean, it happens, right? Like I had to take like remedial math classes because I'm just bad at math. It doesn't click in my head, but I can stand in front of a group and give a speech off the cuff for 20 minutes. And that's like, public speaking is not an issue for me. It is for a lot of people. Now, would you say I missed some milestones because I like wasn't as good at math in high school as I am now? Or you know, as I am in other
STEM
things.
Learning stuff,
right? Yeah, probably was, right?
Yeah.
But you know, it's like your kids will get there. Like they will end up as for the most part. It's all likelihood, 99% of the time, they're going to end up as functional adults and contributing members of society, even if, you know, you miss out on a few weeks because the app says, you know, you should be here and actually you're here.
Yeah.
And as you guys said, those milestones too, like I used Wonder Weeks. That was our favorite app.
Nice.
Because it did give us the developmental leaps was really cool to be able to know when they're fussy and when they're mad. That was super helpful.
Yeah, it was like a $4 app, but it was worth it.
Yeah. But the great thing about that was you could see kind of the stuff they were supposed to be doing and like play games. But you knew if it literally says you will not check all the boxes in most cases. Like this is how you can support it, but they're not going to do all the things in every milestone. You're probably going to skip to the next one and then come back to this. It's just how kids work. And that's perfectly okay.
to close out the conversation on that, you reminded me of this one story of like when you talk about parent intervention. Oh yeah, Saunders.
Okay.
There's a good friend of mine named Matt York. He's also he was a creator in the kind of the dad space as well, called That Dad Matt. But he told me a good story about his kids as they were getting older. They were like 4 or 5, and the little one was just being a toddler, and the daughter, I think she was like 6 or 7 at the time. She had like the best burn ever. And then but it was also just like rude, but also like good. But she goes up to her little toddler sister and she's like, "Shut up, you little burden." And yeah, and Matt was just like appalled, but really just like, man, that was so good at the same time. It was so bad. But it was like, to call your kid or to call your sibling a burden, it was like, whoa.
The question in my head is, how many times did he say that before it sunk in and got repeated?
Exactly. Like they learned it from somewhere.
So my mom was driving with the 2-year-old and she got cut off. She said, "Damn it."
Yeah.
And for the rest of the car ride from the back seat, "Damn it. Damn it."
Yep. They're freaking little parrots. They're little parrots, man. It's unbelievable. Well, thank you guys for listening. To close it out, like Dad Verb, the podcast, Dad Verb, the YouTube channel. We are currently sponsored by Huckberry.com. Ben, what do you have to say about Huckberry.com and how amazing their fits are?
So I have loved a bunch of their stuff. Luckily, they sent us some great things, and I think I mentioned in this episode or previous one at some point, we record a bunch of these at once. That we just recently got back from a trip to Disney World. The shirt I'm wearing right now is the 72-hour merino wool t-shirt from Proof. Super comfortable, super lightweight. Wore this a bunch during the trip because it was 92 and like 70% humidity in the Florida summer heat. But it's great. It's like anti-stink, moisture wicking. It's fantastic. I could just like rinse it in the sink, wring it out, hang it in the shower, and wear it again, and it didn't smell bad. And then I also have the 365 pants on right now in this like cool olive color because I like everything in green.
Yep.
But they are stretchy. They look good. I can wear them to work. I can wear them casually, but they're all there. So check them out at the link below. We'll have a link to all our favorite stuff in there.
Thank you to Huckberry, and thank you to the listeners for tuning into another episode of the Dad Verb podcast. If you have any thoughts on our topic today about milestones, or you have any stories to share about your kids hitting milestones, whether they're advanced or behind, or kind of any approaches that you had, please let us know. We'd love to hear your experiences, and it'll help other parents along their journey as well. Again, thanks for listening. Thanks, Huckberry. We'll catch you in the next one. Peace.